Hey, Mr. Richards here. Today's 7th grade Unit 4 Lesson 1 Anchor Problems gets us started with our unit on equations. And so in problem 1, it's asking us, is 68 a solution to 3/4 x equals 51? And explain why or why not. Well, let me ask a simpler question first. Is 2 a solution to, well, 2 times x equals 4? Well, if I put 2 in for x, 2 times 2 certainly equals 4. And so, yes, 2 is a solution to 2x equals 4. But is 2 a solution to, let's say, x plus 1 equals 10? Well, if I put 2 in for x, 2 plus 1 would have to equal 10. And since certainly 3 does not equal 10, no, 2 is not a solution there. Let's go to this question. Is 68 a solution? Well, we're putting 68 in for x. So 3/4 multiplied by 68 would need to equal 51. And sure enough, when you take 3/4 and multiply by 68, that is equal to 51. And since 51 equals 51, yes, 68 is a solution. If we go down to problem 2, what mistake did the student make in each example? What are the correct solutions? Well, in question 11 here, we have 19 equals n divided by 8. And if you look, they said 11 is what n equals. Well, we know that 11 divided by 8 is not equal to 19, not at all. So the mistake that they made was they subtracted the 8. What should they have done? Well, if we have 19 equals n divided by 8, the opposite of division is multiplication. And so if I multiply both sides of this equation by 8, 8 times 19 is, 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 1 is 8, plus a 7 is 15. So 152 would be what's equal to n. And sure enough, 152 divided by 8 is 19. What about 13? Well, x divided by 13 equals 6, and they're saying that x equals 7. Well, 7 divided by 13 is not equal to 6 if we put the 7 in. It's not a solution. And so, once again, it looks like they subtracted 13 minus 6 to get the solution. That's not how we're going to solve that. So if we have x divided by 13 equals 6, we're supposed to multiply by 13 on both sides here. The opposite of division is multiplication. And so x is actually going to equal 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 1 is 6, plus the 1 is 7. So 78 is what's equal to x, as 78 divided by 13 is 6. Now, this question 15. K plus 12 equals 2. Well, if you're looking at that one, it looks like they added 12 plus 2 to get the 14. But if I put in 14, 14 plus 12, that's not equal to 2. And so, how do we solve this? Well, when k plus 12 equals 2, the opposite of addition is subtraction. So if I subtract by 12 on both sides, k is going to equal 2 minus 12 is negative 10. Negative 10 plus 12 is equal to 2. In problem 3, Find the value of x in each equation below. Check your answer using substitution. What minus 14 equals 5? No, x minus 14 equals, negative 5. The opposite of subtraction is addition. So when I add this 14 to both sides, x is going to equal 9. Checking it using substitution, we rewrite the original equation, x minus 14 equals negative 5. We put in 9 for the x. And sure enough, 9 minus 14 is negative 5. Negative 5 equals negative 5, so it checks out. What about b? X plus 8 equals negative 1. What's the opposite of addition? Subtraction. Subtract the 8 from both sides now, and we get x equals negative 9. And when we check that, x plus 8 equals negative 1, substitute in the negative 9 for the x. Negative 9 plus 8 is negative 1. Negative 1 equals negative 1, so that is correct. C. 1/2 x equals negative 14. And this gets into some of our special rules with fractions. If I multiply by the reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2 over 1, this causes this to cancel out on this side. And so we're left with x equals negative 28. And when I check that, 1/2 x equals negative 14. Half of negative 28 should be negative 14. And sure enough, half of negative 28 is negative 14. So the left side equals the right side, so we're good. And lastly, in D, I'm going to put the negative on the bottom to help us out here. X divided by negative 3 equals negative 9. Well, the opposite of division is multiplication. So if I multiply by that negative 3 on both sides of the equation, we end up with this canceling out, and x equals a positive 27. When I check that, negative x divided by 3 equals negative 9, put in the 27. So negative of 27, bringing the negative with the x, divided by 3 equals negative 9, and sure enough, negative 9 equals negative 9, so that checks out. The whole idea of solving these one-step equations here is using the inverse operation. So when I had subtraction and x minus 14 equals negative 5, the inverse, the opposite operation was to add the 14, because that causes that to cancel out to leave us with the x equals 9. This was addition. The opposite of addition is subtraction. And so plus 8 minus 8 is 0, so that cancels out. And the same thing is true here. 1/2 times 2, using that reciprocal idea, cancel that to be 1x. And multiplying here caused this just to be a 1x as well. And our last question, a town's total allocation for firefighters' wages and benefits in a new budget is $600,000. If wages are calculated at $40,000 per firefighter and benefits at $20,000 per firefighter, write an equation whose solution is the number of firefighters the town can employ if they spend their whole budget. Solve the equation. Well, if wages are $40,000 per, we can do 40,000 times F plus 20,000 times F equals the $600,000 budget. We can combine 40,000 F plus 20,000 F to be 60,000 F equals $600,000. And this is multiplication, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So if I divide by 60,000 on both sides, 60,000 divided by 60,000 is 1. So that leaves me with F equals 10. So they can hire 10 firefighters. That's it for this Unit 4, Lesson 1, Anchor Problems in Grade 7.